you treat other people how you want to be treated. And as humans, if we like something, you know, like we're like a kid in a candy store. What do we want to do? We want to see it. We want to touch it. We want to feel it. And it's the same with your partner. Like, I like you. I love you. She want to see
it. She want to touch it. She want to feel it.
You doing a lot right now. Mom, we gon' for the saints in the back.
They know what's husband. Up. We got kids.
For the saints in the back, I apologize.
We got kids, so you know what time it is. It goes down around these parts. What up? Welcome to For Real Though. Back today with another episode for y'all. I go by the name of Jimmy Rills, aka Mr. King Energy. Of course, we got the lovely, the talented Queen Nesha in the building.
Say hey y'all, Queen. What's up? What's up?
And if you're new here, the purpose of our podcast is to help people be the best version of themselves in love, relationships, and parenthood. Now today, we're talking about what's love got to do with it. Dope title, right? So
what? I ain't hear you. What you say?
What's love got to do with it? So the premise is that, is love enough to sustain a relationship?
Right.
Come on now, I'm asking you nice.
And I'm saying no nice.
Come on. Some of this cake. Come on. Cake. Eat some cake, yeah. Oh, so you done lost some money.
Is love alone enough to sustain a relationship? We believe the answer is no to that. So what we're going to be talking about today is 8 tips that we're going to give y'all. I'm sorry, you wanted to say something?
Don't answer. You answering for me.
Okay,
we believe.
My bad, Queen.
Do we believe? You know, love is important, but go ahead.
But
boss.
Is love enough?
Go ahead, boss.
Is love enough?
Go ahead, boss.
Let the people know. Let the people know.
Go ahead, boss. I'm gonna let you finish. Go over your eight bullet points, topics that you want to talk about.
So now you don't want to tell the people what you think?
I do. He just loved the answer for me. I mean, it's okay. You know, I don't.
Before we start recording, what did you tell me? What did you say?
I said you kick it off.
See, now she trying.
That does not include.
Trying to play me. Okay.
That does not include you ask a question and then answer for we. But okay.
She trying to play me. She definitely
go ahead. Finish
like
your
Shane
thought.
Already tell me what she felt before we started recording. Now she okay. I got to see how you do it. I got you.
Finish your thought. Go
All right.
ahead.
So today we talking about what's love got to do with it. The premise is love enough to sustain a relationship? Mm-hmm. And we got 8 tips that we think will be helpful in sustaining a relationship. That's going to help you on your journey in relationships and in marriages.
Your journey to love, a healthy relationship. That's the goal. Healthy, happy relationship.
Facts. Tip number 1, show your partner affection in their love language. Queen, what you got to say about that? Show your partner affection in their love language.
Well, first you have to figure out what is your partner's love language, right?
Right.
A couple years ago, well, I'm being modest, more than a couple years ago, we read a book, The 5 Love Languages. Was it 5 Love Languages? 5 Love Languages, and we had to take a test to really figure out what each other's love language was at that time. You know, we've been together a long time, and we never really took a type of test like that. It's almost like a personality test, but on your love. You know, like, how do you receive love? Because we found ourselves, I'm answering for us.
Go ahead. See? You see what you dig what I'm saying? You see how hypocritical. No, just playing. It's all love. Go ahead.
Well, I found myself in a space where I wasn't getting what I needed. Like, you grow and you evolve as a woman, and you you change. So I think it's important to first find out what is your partner's love language, and it doesn't hurt to retake that test, which we probably is up for another retake.
We usually take it every couple of years because as we evolve, it is likely to change. And actually, the first time we took it, once we took it the second time, we did notice our results were different.
True. But it also, what I figured out is I learned a lot about myself in taking the love language test. Like, we know as a woman kind of what we like. And for me, and this is just my opinion, I thought that, the things that I like, that would be my love language, things that are important to me. But you'll be surprised really at the core what's important to you. And I think that's important to figure out first. So
I agree.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing too is, when we say show your partner affection in their love language, it's the best way to ensure that your efforts are not going unnoticed. Right? Because I'm sure we can all relate at some point in time throughout our relationship, our partner or we feel unappreciated, undervalued, right?
Facts.
And if you ask the other person, they like, well, shit, I work hard in the relationship. I do this, I do that, I go to work, I give you my whole check, da-da-da-da-da. And the reality of the situation is those things are important to you. Mm-hmm. They're not really important to your spouse. Yeah. So it's almost like the analogy I like to use, going to the gym. And the goal may be you want to, get a six-pack. And you go to the gym and you got dumbbells, you on the bench, you're doing squats, you're just doing a bunch of stuff, right? And you busting a sweat. And you leave and you do that every day. And then you realize that you're not really seeing no results where you wanted to. You didn't isolate that muscle group, right? Mm-hmm. So the point I'm making is showing affection in your partner's love language is the best way to understand that your efforts aren't going unnoticed. Like, you're actually working in that isolated group where it's going to be noticed, right? And I'm going to put you on the spot since you tried to play me in the beginning. What's my love language? One time for the people. And your ass get it wrong, I'm divorcing you.
We don't say the D word around these parts.
For sure.
Affectionate.
What do you mean?
Touch and feel. It's touch and feel.
Wait, I need you to think. We're gonna rewind
and then answer the question.
Wait.
Let me get myself together.
Let's review the 5 love languages again. What are they? You remember? One is words of affirmation.
Touch and feel.
Physical touch.
I was close. Touch and feel. Physical touch.
Acts of service.
Gifts.
And quality time.
So affirmation and physical touch.
No, it is not.
Yes, it is. What are you talking about?
You see what I'm saying?
No, it is.
You see what the fuck I'm saying?
No, our last test, it's words of affirmation never changed.
Yes, it did.
What is it?
So that was the results from the first time, right? So the second time when we took it, which was like some years in between, my number 1 love language is actually acts of service. And we talked about that.
That's my love language.
It's also my love language. So apparently we all learning something new here today.
Okay, so we'll be retaking this test because look, no, for real, like, listen to me. I don't really think he 100% accurate. Like,
you gonna try to tell me I don't know my love language?
Acts of service have always been mine. Okay, yours, both 2 times, like, remembering, I remember I remember physical touch and words of affirmation.
That's all right, baby. That's all right. We evolving every day. We all evolving. So
keep going.
Moving forward, just remember my number 1 love language is acts of service.
And what's your second one?
So, physical touch.
So you no longer need words of affirmation.
That's third.
Okay.
But it's just not in the top 2. So, acts of service. If you cooking dinner, you make my plate and serve me like the king I am. Here you go, daddy. Here go your plate.
Isn't cooking dinner enough? I'm already cooking it.
You cook dinner and I gotta make my own plate.
I'm already cooking it.
Yeah, okay. We're going to keep this thing moving because y'all see where we headed, right? All right. So, number 2. Be charming and fun. What you got to say about that, Queen? Be charming and fun.
Be charming and fun. I think, don't be so uptight.
Facts. I mean, and this kind of speaks to just kind of keeping the relationship flirty, keeping it fresh, keeping it fun. You can't bore your spouse to death. And one of the things I like to call pushing P in the relationship, like basically the things that you did that attracted your person and your partner in the beginning, you got to keep that up. Once you get them, you can't get comfortable, you can't get complacent. So you still have to keep it fun and keep it spicy. Yeah. You know what I mean? To keep them attracted. So that's another good tip. Be charming and fun. And funny, because you love to laugh too. So I keep you cracking up. So I think that kind of helps if you're funny, right?
You gotta laugh. It makes life just better all around.
Big facts. Number 3. Connect intimately with your partner. And we actually learned 4 different types of intimacy, right? Which we think is super dope. So these are the 4 types of intimacy. Because I'm going to keep it real. For most of the bros, most of the guys, when we hear intimacy, we just think of sex. We think about the booty, right?
Just sex.
Let's just keep
That's
it. But if you talk to any woman, 9 times out of 10, she wants more than just that. She may want that. She wants sex. But it's deeper than that for her, 9 times out of 10.
Sex starts outside the bedroom.
Big facts. For real though.
Good sex. It starts outside the bedroom.
I agree. So just breaking that down, right? Connect intimately with your partner. And there's 4 different types of intimacy that we learned, right? So there's physical intimacy, and this is about like touch, hug, kiss, etc. That's just physical intimacy.
Is that important to you? Physical intimacy?
Absolutely, and I think it's an important characteristic to sustain a healthy relationship. So if you're in a relationship but you never kiss, do you think that's healthy?
That's weird.
Exactly. Exactly. So that falls under the physical level of intimacy.
And just holding hands, hugging, touching.
Facts. Like if you go a whole day without kissing me or touching me, like something's wrong.
Like even just sitting next to your partner, like we, as human beings, and like you guys are probably going to hear me say that analogy a lot, like as humans, because I do believe that as humans, we have certain traits, we have certain characteristics. And I think that people don't treat each other kind-heartedly as just being a decent human being, like just a decent person. Like I'm not saying be a suck up, I'm not saying be a pushover. You treat other people how you want to be treated. And as humans, if we like something, like we're like a kid in a candy store. What do we want to do? We want to see it, we want to touch it, we want to feel it. And it's the same with your partner. Like I like you, I love you. She want to see
it. She want to touch it. She want to feel it.
You doing a lot right now. Mom, we going for the saints in the back. They
know what's up. We got kids.
For the saints in the back, I apologize.
We got kids, so you know what time it is. It goes down around these parts. No, but I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
So what was the second one? Did you read the second one? So
the next level of intimacy is emotional, right? And this is involving like deep conversations. You tell your partner your vulnerabilities, your secrets, what makes you tick, what keeps you laying awake at night, your hopes, your dreams. Like that level of intimacy, that emotional connection is very important in sustaining.
But what about also? Because not a lot of guys, I feel like guys sometimes have an issue, and women do too actually, have an issue opening up their heart, like truly opening up their heart to your partner. So that's a level of intimacy, read it again, what was it?
Emotional level of intimacy, deep conversations, sharing truths, being vulnerable, sharing dreams, hopes, fears.
But you're not going to share none of that if your heart isn't open to that person.
No, for real.
So I think that it's important, like, we all know as women, we want to feel secure, you know, we want to feel safe in our relationship. And when we feel safe, it allows us, it creates that atmosphere for us to open our heart up, because then I know I can trust you with this information. I can trust you with my heart, because you're not just going to guard it, you're going to take care of it. Mm-hmm. So if I flip the script, what does it take for a man to open up his heart to a woman?
Don't be so critical. And I agree that it is usually harder for most men to kind of open up in that way. It kind of takes time. But it's important for both of you guys to kind of create that safe space. Mm-hmm. And for the woman to kind of take initiative in that, to kind of help try to create that safe space. Like, if you guys get to a place in the relationship where he do feels comfortable enough to share something with you, don't use it against him. Like, you can't bring that up and weaponize that or use it against him in a negative light. Yeah. Like, you have to have the emotional intelligence and the awareness to understand when he's being vulnerable with you. And you got to cherish that. Because if you don't and you mess that up, he may never open up again like that. So just being mindful of that. That's definitely important. The next level of intimacy. Number 3, sexual intimacy. And this is where all the bros get excited, because this is what they really want.
Your face was just excited.
But let's keep it real though.
Sex is important.
Sex is important. Great sex is important. So it's important for us to be intentional about that. And like Queen said earlier, you know, sex and intimacy starts before the bedroom. So fellas, we know all relationships kind of go in cycles. Maybe there's a season in your relationship where you're not getting as much sex as you would like. Maybe try really tapping into those other levels of intimacy as well. Which, if you are, there shouldn't be a problem with her opening up with you sexually, as long as you're giving her that emotional intimacy. You're giving her that physical intimacy and the other levels of intimacy. Would you agree?
I agree with that, but I also feel like, you know, life happens. Mm-hmm. Things in life happen. As women, we have children, mm-hmm. You know. We can't have sex right after having a baby. It's 6 weeks. So is those levels, I think for me, and this is my opinion, it speaks to my relationship if we can't be sexually intimate. And how quickly is he frustrated by not being sexually intimate with me? Are there other deeper layers of me that can still sustain and stimulate him if that's not an option right now? Because life happens. Like I said, babies, you get older. What if one of you guys or your spouse or your partner succumb to an illness, or they're sick in the moment? Like how are you? That's a whole nother level to deal with that. So I think it's important to have. That's why I always say sex starts outside the bedroom, because you're going to need those other levels of intimacy to help preserve sex intercourse, basically.
I'm so very glad that you brought up intercourse, because it's levels to sex. And so I hear it so often where women mention that analogy and that example. Well, what if I got cancer or something happened and, you know, God forbid, I couldn't have sex for a year? Would you just gonna cheat on me? What would you do? And my thought to that is there anything wrong with your hands or your lips or anything else? Does that make me an asshole for thinking that?
Yes.
But I'm being honest.
Yes, I understand you being honest, but
let me say something. Let me say something real quick. And forgive me, Quinn, I don't mean to interrupt you. But sometimes it's important to be it's important to be real, not right. And in this moment, I'm going to be real, not right. Maybe it's not quite right or it's not politically correct to say, but if we're being honest, this is how a lot of men think. Like, okay, I understand that we just had a baby, you know what I mean? And your body is still healing up and all of that. First of all, in many cases, we've been kind of waiting for a while throughout the pregnancy. Like once it gets to a certain point and your doctor advises that, okay, you know, you can't have any more sex until after the birth. We get that. So we already abstaining and holding out.
You can have sex all through the birth, all through your pregnancy, as long as it's not causing you personally, the woman, like any health issues.
Right. I mean, it just, every situation is different, right? But the point I'm making is you can't just completely disregard or ignore how your partner feels or how your boyfriend or your husband feels in that situation either. Like, well, he just gonna have to wait until, because that's kind of being inconsiderate. So I'm just like, I don't mean to be an asshole, but I'm like, okay, if your body's still healing up, you can't do that. Is there other things that you could still do? You
may not be able to, no. If you're sick with an illness and you talking to, God forbid, someone that has cancer and they're going through chemotherapy, you're really going to look at that person and say, well, is there anything wrong with your lips?
I think it's a conversation.
When they're on...
Depending on the situation. But like I said,
you're tripping, babe.
Okay, well maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm tripping. In this moment, I'm here to be real, not right.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is, in certain circumstances, in certain situations, like I feel like a lot of men just get disregarded. Like how we feel doesn't matter. Okay. It's all about me in this moment. I need to heal up. I need to do X, Y, and Z. So it's like you're being completely inconsiderate of that other person too. So then it's just like, okay, if he's communicating to you like, okay, babe, you know, I'm kind of getting to my limit. Like, you know, what we doing, boo? Because it's coming. And you're completely disregarding his communication that he's at a place where he's struggling. And so then he steps outside the relationship and then something happens. Then what?
So,
and I'm not justifying that. I'm not saying that he has a right to step outside of a situation, but I'm saying if we being real, not right, and something like that happens, then what?
What do you mean, then what?
Like, okay, there's a communication. That's why I say there has to be a conversation. Like, there has to be a level of communication where somehow we try to find a way to meet in the middle.
I understand.
To compromise. That's all I'm really saying. And maybe I wasn't saying it clear enough earlier. So I apologize. I ain't trying to hurt nobody's feelings or nothing. But right now in this moment, I'm here to be real, not right. It's a conversation. Got a couple things for y'all. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Smash that bell icon for notifications. So every time we drop a new video, you get notified. I want you to like this video. I want you to comment what you think below. Yeah. I want you to share this video.
Okay, but being real, not right, also understand, I think a lot, in my opinion, I feel like a lot of guys are not as understanding, or you may not be as understanding to my situation because you're ignorant to the fact of my situation. Mm-hmm. So to you, it could be just as simple as, well, you know, you can't have intimacy, so then what about oral, or what about, you know, other part, like whatever you're into, you know, to each his own. I'm not here to judge anyone, but you may not be understanding because you're ignorant to the fact of what he or she is really going through. So maybe try not just empathizing with me. I don't need you just to understand. I need you to truly understand. I need you to truly be aware. I need it to connect with you. I need you to fully be educated on what I'm going through. So maybe educate yourself on what your partner is going through. And that's with anything across the board, whether it's sickness, whether it's depression, whether it's a transition from health, like you need to educate yourself. And if you don't know, you need to educate yourself. You need to find it. because there's other things that you may care about that you don't really know a lot about, but you find as a woman, you educate yourself on. You don't know a lot about Louis purses and the size, but you'll watch a YouTube video and figure out the size. So maybe watch a YouTube video or go and ask your doctor or come to the doctor with me to really understand this condition that I'm battling with right now, or what I'm going through, so you can it's not just empathy, but there's understanding behind your empathy. And
No,
then
for real.
you won't come off like as such a
asshole.
Yeah.
I respect that. So I guess the moral of that is still have the conversation. Everything is still
You do.
communication. You know what I mean? Fellas, communicate where you are, and that you being self-aware and knowing yourself and your limitations is important. Because a lot of times that happens too, where somebody just jump out the window, but they never communicated that, hey, I'm actually at that place where I'm struggling now. So fellas, communicate that. Queens, communicate your circumstances and what you're feeling and what you got going on and what you're going through, so that you guys can kind of work through that. But communication is key in that.
But so that also provoked a different thought, and maybe this is another conversation for another day. I understand everyone gets to their point, but if you get to a breaking point, or you get to a point and you're like, oh, you just jump off the bridge without thinking, what does that really say about you? And this is my opinion, I never want to be so, like, not have control over my body and my emotions and my physical being. Now, this is just flesh. My physical being, where my emotions cannot make my physical being come to alignment of what it needs to do. Where then my physical is just driving my decisions and cause me to jump off the cliff. Because once you jump off the cliff, there's still consequences that you have to be accountable for. Like,
No, for real though.
that's not that. If you choose to jump off the bridge, just make sure you can swim. That's all I say. Like, you got to deal with that.
That's a fact. But it's still communication.
Communicate.
Because everybody
That's
still has different triggers, different levels, different, expectations, different needs. Like, everybody's different. Every dynamic is different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to communicate that.
You do have to. I do agree with that. You do have to still communicate what you're going through, or what you are lacking. Like, I'm not getting this. I'm not being fulfilled in this area, and I need you to hear me. And this is why. Like, you need to communicate with your partner.
Absolutely. So just to recap. All right, so we said that was number 3, connect intimately with your partner. And we said there was 4 types of intimacy: physical intimacy, emotional intimacy, sexual intimacy, and now number 4 is spiritual intimacy. And this is more so surrounding worshiping, praying, meditating together. Talk to us about that, Queen.
That's one of I think spiritual for me, that drives me in my marriage. Like, that drives me in every area of my life. Spiritual, like having a spiritual foundation, because people disappoint you. People have shortcomings, people do things to hurt you, especially your spouse, even not intentionally, but because you are so connected to them. If you do something, and even though you didn't intend to hurt my feelings, but you hurt my feelings. Like, I'm in my feelings about it. Like, oh my God, you hurt my feelings. Even me telling you that you hurt my feelings hurts me to say you hurt my feelings. When you're emotionally tied to your partner. It's something that's very uncomfortable. But having that spiritual foundation, those shortcomings, that area and capacity of grace, it allows me to be able to navigate through that. I think it's important. You have to have yourself tied to something, to Jesus, in my opinion. But whatever your spiritual belief is, you need something to hold you accountable morally. Like, I can't drive my own moral compass. Like, it's tied to my faith. It's tied to my faith in Jesus Christ, and it keeps me connected. So if I feel myself getting morally, like, I'm kind of off, I have something to pull me back because I know what's in my foundation.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that spiritual intimacy is something that's important for keeping you guys grounded in the relationship. Maybe when you guys are at odds or you guys are in disagreement. It's also helpful to create boundaries and a point for which you won't go above and beyond, right? My spiritual connection has everything to do with the type of man that I'm committed to being and that I want to be for her and for my kids, right? So it's definitely going to help me with my moral compass. It's actually going to help me with my self-assessments. When I think back on maybe certain situations, I'm like, dang, could I have handled that differently? Could I, was I tripping? Okay, I need to go back and clean this up. Like, your moral compass, you know what I mean? It's going to help keep you grounded. So the spiritual intimacy, I think, is definitely important. And and kind of tapping into that, you need to have your own individual connection spiritually, but tapping into that as a collective as well. Praying together, reading the Bible together, going to church together, worshiping together. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's something that helps grow the relationship.
Absolutely.
Too.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. So those were the 4 keys. Number 5. Do your part. So this speaks more to showing up in the relationship with action, making meaningful contributions to the relationship. On a different episode, Queen and I kind of talked about one of my house chores is laundry.
We're going to have to put the link somewhere in the video so you guys can go back and watch that conversation.
I hate doing laundry. I don't like doing laundry. I hate it, right? But at the end of the day, I have to hold myself accountable to that. Like, I gotta show up with action in the relationship. I have to make a meaningful contribution to the relationship. And just kind of being a team player, collaborating with your partner, working together. What would you add to that?
Yeah, as a woman in a relationship, being present in your relationship, be tentative to, it's important to me to be tentative to his needs, his desires, his wants. Just like I want to feel, and I like to feel safe with him and secure with him, that I can share my dreams, my aspirations. Like, he should be able to do the same thing with me. So I think it's important to, pay attention to the small things. Like, the small things matter. The small things are habits, they're tendencies. And if you know those things, like, it helps you know your partner, and it helps you get to know your partner on a deeper level, which goes over those intimacy tips that we just went over.
And just to be clear on this step, do your part. We all understand, or we should understand, that marriages, relationships, they take work.
Yeah.
So the point of what we're trying to say with this bullet point is do your part, put that work in, right? Everybody got a job to do. And if both parties are doing their job, then the business is being handled. And if you're not, then it's not. So do your work, show up with action, do what you say you're going to do.
Put the action into what you want your relationship to look like. Everyone's relationships have, it's almost like baking a cake. I could bake a cake, he could bake a cake, and we could have 5 of the same ingredients, but if my measurements are different than his measurements, his cake is going to be different than my cake. So that's how a relationship is. You have to figure out first, like, what is what is like working for you in your relationship? What do you want your relationship to look like? And if you're not getting something from your partner, especially as a woman, like take the initiative to put the work in to show your partner what you want displayed in your relationship. Talk like and have that conversation.
It's funny that you mentioned that because that actually leads into the next step. Thanks for stealing my thunder.
Oh, what was that? What's the next step?
Next step is take accountability.
Oh.
So it kind of speaks to, you know, own the responsibility for what you want to see in your relationship. Take an initiative. We were talking about sex earlier. Guys, if you want more sex, vocalize that, communicate that, and then take initiative to be romantic, to show her those other levels of intimacy so that you can get what you want. For some of the ladies, if maybe you want more intimacy or you want more quality time, communicate that and then take initiative in that. You know, maybe you plan a date.
I was just gonna say that, like, date each other. Like, show up.
Like
Show up for each other. You know, just how you want him to show up for you. Show up for him that way too. Let him know that he's valued, he's appreciated.
Because I am somebody. Okay, I am back. I's important. I's kind.
Oh my God.
I go. What she say? I's kind.
Smart.
I's smart. I's beautiful.
He's so funny.
I'm important.
You is kind. You is smart. You is important. You is smart. You is kind. You is important. That's so good.
Nah, I'm just playing. Okay, and then.
But you know what? One other thought behind that about, you know, accountability. We were talking about accountability is also, I think is really important. I learned in our relationship that when you do something as a woman, it's easy for us to own it woman to woman or like sibling to sibling, but it's hard for us to own our own shortcomings in our relationship because we never want to be wrong. You know, we never want to admit to our partner, oh, you were right, I was wrong.
Why is that?
I don't even know, for real. I don't even know. I just know that it's a woman thing. Like I wasn't right, but I'm not gonna tell him I wasn't right.
And that's a problem.
But I learned in our relationship, like, that's a problem. If I'm doing something and I don't even know if you really realize it, like, it's one of your pet peeves that I picked up. If I'm doing something that really gets under your skin and you talk to me about it and there's no progressive change in it, and you come to me, but I have I always have, you would say an excuse, but it's like, it really is an excuse. Like, oh, I did that, yes, but I did it because A, B, and C. We don't want to really hear that, because as a woman, we don't want to hear that. So I notice even with you and with other guys out there, that may be a pain point. Like, well, I don't want to come and talk to her about an issue where it's hard I feel like she's not hearing me, because when I do come and talk to her, it's always, yes, but you did this, or yes, but if you would do this, then I wouldn't do that. Like, as a woman, you know, show up as a woman. Like, still take accountability for your own actions and your shortcomings too with your partner.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I think that's actually a big disconnect in a lot of relationships. As men, the world tells us to be accountable. We have to take accountability. At work, you're not doing this, you're not doing good enough, you're not doing it good enough, you need to be better. The whole world talks to men about being better. But it's just like, I feel like as men, it's not too often that we see women take accountability, and you may do it amongst your friends and conversating with your homegirls, like, girl, he was so right and I was wrong. And be like, girl, did you tell him? She'd be like, girl, no, I ain't telling him he was right. What's wrong with you? But it's just like, I think it's important for men to see that. Men love when women can take accountability and address the fact that, okay, you know what? The other day I did have an attitude, babe. I apologize. I had, you know, X, Y, and Z going on, and I probably kind of took it out on you, so I want to apologize. Like, men love that accountability, and it allows us an opportunity to extend grace. But when you act like it never happened, or you'll fight tooth and nail just to avoid admitting that you was wrong, like, that creates a big disconnect, and now we're going tit for tat. So,
do you think it's because as a woman, by us doing that, we paint the picture that we're always right and the guy is always wrong?
Yes. I think in society, that picture is painted a lot. I think in society, this isn't a one size fits all. I'm not speaking to all women. I understand all women don't do this. But I think it's very often that the storyline surrounds she can do no wrong, and once he gets his shit together, then we'll be doing all right in a relationship. I'm just waiting on him to get his shit together, and then we'll be good. We can thrive in a relationship.
So it ain't me, it's just all him.
As soon as he gets his shit together. And that women can do no wrong. So just take accountability too, ladies. You know what I mean? Admit when you're wrong in real time, if possible, right? Don't wait 6 months to say, hey, you remember that time 6 months ago when we said X, Y, and Z? Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, you was right about that. Like, in real time, or as close to real time as possible. You know what I mean? And
when you're level-headed,
right,
and you can have that conversation, it's important to have the conversation.
Absolutely. And fellas too, of course, we know we got to take accountability when we messing up, because just as a leader, you know what I mean, that's the best way to move as a leader. You don't want to be a tyrant, you want to be a good leader. And lead by example. And part of that is admitting when you're wrong, admitting that you don't have all the answers, you don't know everything. Hey Queen, I think this is what we should do. What you think about that? Like, just being a collaborator. You know what I mean? Because I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers, but I know how to use my resources, and I know how to collaborate. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's a good one though. Thanks for mentioning that. So that was number 6. Take accountability. Number 7. Resolve conflict and disagreements with win-win solutions. So this surrounds compromise, meeting in the middle, picking and choosing your battles. What you got to add to that?
That could be tough.
When in terms of resolving conflict and disagreements with win-win solutions.
Yeah, that can be tough. I think that you have to be self-aware to realize if you are ready to have, as I call them, a big girl conversation. Having a big girl conversation is knowing that the other person isn't always going to agree with you. Or even if it's your truth and your feelings, he may not agree with you. So am I at a place where I'm mentally open and emotionally have my emotions kind of intact enough to know that, okay, I'm really ready to dive into this conversation with you. I'm ready to not necessarily agree with you, but hear you out so that we can get to a compromise on what's the best practice for us with this issue. And I think as women, we can let our emotions control us. Emotions are important, but we were not given emotions to lead us. We should never lead with our emotions. That can get us in a lot of trouble. I think our emotions was given to us for us to be emotionally aware, for us to feel, for us to, care, and a whole bunch of other things. But I think you have to be aware to, am I ready to have this conversation? And what is my expectations from this conversation before you even have that conversation with your partner? Because I think as women, sometimes we can be hot-headed or real spicy and jump in the conversation. And once you start fact-checking us, we're not ready as we thought, because we get real spicy and real defensive, and we're like, wait, hold on, nah, it shouldn't. And it shouldn't even be like that. It's all that's not necessary.
And I want to add to that too. When we're talking about resolving conflict with win-win solutions, a very important component of that is listening, right?
Right.
Listening. Both parties shutting up and listening. And when you listen, you have to listen to understand. Try to understand, even if you don't necessarily agree, right? Because this is after the fact, after y'all done had the disagreement or the argument, or whatever the situation may be. So one person is kind of giving you their side. Okay, help me understand where you were coming from. And then listen and try to understand what it is that they're trying to get across, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like there's a disconnect a lot of times when we're listening to respond instead of listening to try to understand. You're talking, but I'm not really listening to what you're saying. I'm just listening just to wait on your lips to stop moving so I can convince you on why my thought process was the right one. So, and like we said, pick your battles. You know, how much do I really care about this? Is this something that's really that deep to me? Is it really that important to me? Try to find some common ground where you guys can meet in the middle or come to some sort of compromise. That's what we mean when we say win-win solutions. Good?
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then the last one.
Last but not least,
don't forget self-care. And this is basically, you know, taking personal time for yourself in a relationship.
Yeah.
Talk to him, Queen.
No, I'm just kidding.
Like, dang, why you put me on the spot? I got you, Queen. I got you.
No, I'm just kidding, though. But honestly, though, I think that, in my opinion, we can, especially women and men too, really, actually, like, you can find yourself so wrapped up into your partner life that you lose the sight of your dreams or the sight of your aspirations, because when we come together, like, we became one. So we became one for a reason. We have a purpose with our family. You know, I always refer to him as, he's my purpose partner. My purpose partner is not just about love, because love it's not enough for me. I need somebody to help me create. I need someone to help me produce. I have to feel some type of productivity, movement, moving, legacy. Like we can build, we can create something together.
Facts.
That's important. And I think that with that, it's also very important that I don't lose myself to us being one. Like, I still have to know that it's okay for self-care, being self-aware of things that I still like, things that aspirations that I still have, but even just more like being 100, the simple things. Like, I understand as women, we dress a lot of times, or sometimes to, like, we may wear something just to please our partner, you know, or we may not wear something just to please our partner. For me, that's a gray area. Like, really be careful. For me, I still want to make sure I'm showing up authentically as me at all times. Like, I'm still showing up as me, as what I like to wear, and doing things that make me feel good. So your go-to or preference may be lip gloss for me, but I may from time to time still like to wear color. I still, you know, like to wear a purple lip or like to wear a red lip. That doesn't mean I'm not going to wear it just because he prefers lip gloss. I don't gotta walk around in lip gloss all day long. If I want to wear a red lip, then I'm gonna wear a red lip.
But sometimes, you know, you can still put on some lip gloss for, you know.
I'm not saying, you know, take it out, but I'm saying just don't lose sight of those things that are still important to you. And really, a lot of times, too, women, like, being 100, the things that you saying you don't necessarily like when you met me, that's how you met me.
Sometimes.
Like, sometimes, majority of the time, come on, like, you don't like red lipstick, but I bagged you wearing red lipstick. So
well, don't put that on me. I like red lipstick.
No, I'm just saying though, like
now what I don't like,
just
I ain't shy about what I don't like. What I don't like, what don't I like when it comes to the nails?
I don't know. What don't you like? You
Black.
like my nails?
Black nails.
And you like black a certain
lipstick.
way. You like black a certain way.
It's not my preference, but you're still beautiful. I mean, you're
like
still a
certain
queen
way.
to me. So even when you do wear it, it's not a deal breaker because you still look good. It's just not a preference. Like, baby, look gothic. I don't like them black. That black
That's
on
all
your
I'm
nails.
saying.
I don't like that. I don't like that black lipstick. But you still look good.
I don't like the. What are those?
The Kango hats.
Oh my God, Lord Jesus.
The Kango hats.
They could stop. They could have left those. They could have left those where they were at. But we all go through stages where we evolve.
right. But I mean, and to close it out though, the point being, just make sure that you prioritize doing the things that you like to do. Each individual person in a relationship, right? Me personally, I like to work out. So if I go to the gym, I know it helps me clear my head. I know it helps me de-stress. So I'm gonna try to prioritize time to do that. I know Queen also loves to work out and be healthy. And when your spouse or your partner is enjoying their personal time, respect that. You don't necessarily have to blow their phone up, call them 10 times. Like, if she's away at the gym for an hour or off getting her nails done or a massage or away with her homegirls out for drinks, I'm not blowing her phone up, you know what I mean, asking a million questions or whatever. Nope. Okay, you go ahead, boo. I want her to know and be confident that I'm holding the crib down while you gone. I got it under control. Me and the boys have a talk. Anything you need, don't you dare call your mama. Don't you dare. I got you. I'm manning the ship. We good, but if you need something, call me. All right? Because I mean, and it's just, it's probably a habit just for a lot of kids to just call mom. Mom, have you seen my thing? Or have you seen my toy? Or mom, what should I eat? Or da-da-da-da-da. And so that kind of makes us look bad, fellas. Because then she like, where's your dad at? So he not tapped into what's going on at the crib. Why is the kids calling me and you supposed to be holding it down? So I actually set that expectation and let that be known. Like, I want to respect her taking her personal time. And I think that should be mutual. Ladies, you don't have to blow him up if he out with the fellas, calling him 100 times. Allow him to have his time, because then, he gonna miss you when you get back. They probably talk to you in 2 hours. I miss you.
But really though, ladies, like we be needing that break from each other, especially after you've been together for a long time.
Absolutely.
Like it's nice,
Absolutely.
Like I like the fact that he has his group of friends, his tribe, his support system. Because you need to get sound advice, you need that time to like decompress, and you just need that time to enjoy yourself.
I agree. That's all we got for y'all. It's been real. Got a couple things for y'all. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Smash that bell icon for notifications, so every time we drop a new video, you get notified. I want you to like this video. I want you to comment what you think below. I want you to share this video if you found value here. Again, thanks for tapping in with For Real Though. Peace.